So I'm 13 years old and I'm in love with this girl in my class. And we're talking every day, you know, we're eating together. It's just wonderful, wonderful. I even told her that I was going to marry her. When I turned 18, I said, I'm going to marry you. She said she'll marry me back. Yeah. So it was all love. It was all beautiful up until the summertime came. So school let out, last day of school. I have her number, she has my number, you know. Sometimes I used to call her before like during the regular school year I used to call her. And sometimes I might have to go through some trouble to actually speak to her, like, protective household. But eventually I was able to do that. If I called at the right time, I was able to speak to her. So when summer vacation started, I spoke to her one more time, and I didn't know that it would be the last time. We had a great conversation. It was nice. Nothing out of the ordinary. I think we made some plans or something like that. And then after that, never heard from her again. I called her a few times, no answer. I emailed her. We used to email each other. That was a long time ago. We used to send each other emails, and she didn't respond to my emails. I didn't know why. So, yeah, I was distraught. I was confused. I sent a lot of emails. Just anyway, Um, at this point, I need to find a way. At this point, I need to find a way to get my emotions out, express myself. So I started writing songs. I had a little keyboard that my uncle let me borrow, which I never returned, by the way. So I guess it's not really a borrow, right? Um, and I thought that I would. I used to love NSYNC back in the day. Loved NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. So I thought that because I had this keyboard, I could produce full songs just like it would sound just like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. But that's not the use of a keyboard. That's not how it works. But I didn't know that back then. I was only 13 years old, and I had no experience making music at all. Just messing around on the keyboard. But I wrote lyrics. I wrote lyrics. I wrote 12 songs, an entire album. Man, if I could just find that. If I could just find those lyrics. So cringe. But I did. I wrote those songs, and what I did eventually is I sent them to her. I sent them to her email, the lyrics. And she actually responded. She's like, "Oh, I love your songs." I think she said, "I love you and I miss you," or something like that. So I answered her. I'm like, well, why don't you return my emails? Um, to which I never got a response. Never did. But I would say this: writing those songs was very cathartic for me. It was the first time I was compelled to write lyrics, the first time in life. And if I could find those lyrics today, I would cringe, but at the same time, it would be pretty emotional. But ever since then, um, it wasn't it became less about writing songs for me. Well, not ever since then, but soon after I wrote the songs, it became less about writing songs and more about finding music that really understood me. So I started listening to all kinds of stuff. I started listening to rock music. I started listening to R&B. R&B was like both of those kinds of music. They're on opposite sides of the emotional spectrum. There's lots of R&B songs that talk about love and being in love, but also very sad songs that talk about heartbreak and missing someone and stuff like that. But then there's songs on the rock side that were mostly songs about anger and being depressed and um and not really liking authority. So uh both of those, even though they were very different types of music, I got into both of them because I felt like they understood me. So yeah. Yeah. And ever since then I also wanted to start making my own music. Like I didn't actually. make music on the keyboard very much. It was, I mean, I can play some simple stuff, but I felt like to actually create music and to write songs, maybe guitar would be better. So in school, in high school, I eventually learned how to play guitar, and the point was to play the songs that really meant something to me, and eventually write my own songs, and then get signed and then be a huge star. I figured it would happen at some point, right? You practice enough, and then someone finds you, to discover you in some bar, and then you get signed. I thought that's just how it worked. So little did I know, um, I'd be here, but I would say what really inspired me to do music was just to express myself, and the pain that I felt from that heartbreak. And since it helped me so much, I thought I think that it is helping others, and at the same time, what it takes for us to really get that closure that music can provide for us is to really get to really look at, like, why do you like that song? Where does that connect with you on an inner level? And once you channel that attention to why you like or why you love certain kinds of songs and certain kinds of music, um, then that can help to complete whatever it is that's incomplete in your life, and whatever closure you need emotionally. You can achieve that closure and that healing through music, as long as you can take some time to notice and appreciate how that music is resonating with you. So that's my story. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time. It's Reggie Guitarro.